Good morning and welcome to the Monday Hot Stove. We talk about which teams need a little help at third base and which players could best fill that spot. Could the Indians trade Jose Ramirez? Plus, Will Venable is joining Alex for his coaching staff next season. But first, he's joining the show to talk about his new role. And later, we'll be joined by Matt Boyd talking about his charity, Kingdom Home, as well as looking ahead to what should be an exciting season in Detroit. Here are your hosts, Matt Vasgersian and Phil Ripken.
What's happening, buddy? How you doing?
Yeah, what's happening, buddy? Kelly, good morning. Rip, good morning.
You're going to do it to me one of these days. Harold's just going to take over the show while I sit here.
Thanksgiving week already. Believe it?
No.
I mean, not that Thanksgiving week is going to be any different than the rest of the weeks we've had the last 8 months.
But I think they're all the same.
Yeah, it is a holiday nonetheless. We have a lot to get to today. We're gonna kind of roll up our sleeves on two positions. We're going to talk about the left side of the infield today in different ways. Joel's going to join us in a moment to talk about the third base market, and then we're going to have a little exercise regarding shortstops, because I know you feel very strongly about guys like Corey Seager, and we're going to give you a chance to put your skills to work on drafting existing shortstops. But sometimes we don't even do any birthdays on this show. I just want to say happy birthday to not only my dad, but to Louis Tiant, who was one of my dad's favorites as a Boston Red Sox great. El Tiante turns 80 today. Not in the Hall of Fame, 19 years in the big leagues. And this kind of sets up an exercise for later in the show as well, because we're going to talk about some of the winningest pitchers in baseball history who are not enshrined in Cooperstown. Tiant comes to mind as a guy, you know, he had over 200 wins. Vida Blue's not a Hall of Famer for whatever reason. So we're going to talk about those guys as well. You never crossed paths with El Tiante. He debuted, or you debuted after he
Yeah, that wouldn't have been much fun to face that. When you see the guy turning his back and doing all the things, he was probably the initiator of that, wasn't he? There was a lot of different, more unique styles back in the day, but Louis seems to be the flavor.
Yeah. What was Junior's first year? 80.
At the end of 81, 82, he won Rookie of the Year.
So he might have faced him, because El Tiante's last year was 1982. There might have been an at-bat in there. But you're right. He fun to watch, probably not so fun to face.
Right.
Let's say good morning to Joel Sherman, who is in to talk about the third base market. Not only the guys that are on the market as free agents, Joel, but some trade candidates as well. Good morning to you. Let's break down the guys who are actually on the market. And one of them is also enjoying a birthday today, Justin Turner.
Yes, you took away my segue. His 36th birthday today. I think you were supposed to bring the cake and candles. The gift is I'll give you some information. How's that?
Yes.
I would say that there's 4 teams that are kind of obvious in the third base market, that 3 are in the NL East. To me, means that you have a market because teams will want to outdo each other. I think the Braves have to wonder if they could win with Austin Riley there. I think the Nationals have to wonder if they could win with Carter Kieboom at third base after he's had some struggles the last 2 seasons. The Mets have talked about getting better defensively. That's going to be hard to do with J.D. Davis, or even if Jeff McNeil moves over there. And the one other one is outside the NL East is the Toronto Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero, if you follow some social media, you see has dropped a lot of weight, but I think there'll be real questions if he can handle that position moving forward, or if he's more of a first baseman DH type. Right now, Justin Turner, on his 36th birthday, he's the best free agent in the market as far as third base, but I think there's this strong feeling that Turner ends up back with the Dodgers. I think you could put DJ LeMahieu at third base. I've seen him play the position. He's fine at it. But again, I think if you were a betting man, you would think he would end up staying at second base or maybe even first base for the Yankees, depending on what they do with Luke Voit. That means the next level down is kind of the Jake Lamb, Todd Frazier, Marwin Gonzalez group, which is more of a complementary group. And so if you're looking for a third baseman, Matty, Bill, I think you got to go into the trade market.
Interesting. I would agree with you on one sense that Justin Turner, his value is no greater anywhere else on the map than it is in Los Angeles, for all the intangible reasons, in addition to what he brings you as a hitter and as a pretty solid defensive fielding presence. So I'd take him off the list. I'd take LeMahieu off the list because I cannot envision a world where the Yankees don't pay the premium required to keep him. And then you're down to a smaller group of candidates. And I guess, your assertion, Joel, that a trade is in order makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, hey, Joel, I want to ask you about Nolan Arenado because it wasn't too long ago he signed this big mega deal with the Rockies, and it seemed right after he signed that, things went sour somehow quick, one way or the other, either the club or by him. And I just kind of want to know, do you know anything on the inside of that? Like, what triggered something in that area?
Yeah, he had a falling out with their GM, Jeff Riddich. I think that Arenado felt that signing there was the beginning of them pushing a lot more chips into the pot. But, of course, they pushed a lot of chips into the pot to keep Arenado. He's clearly could be gotten in this trade market, but he's very tricky because on one hand, he has 6 years at $199 million left on that very expensive contract that you spoke about, Billy. On the other hand, he could opt out after the 2021 season. And if I'm a team out there, I have to think if he doesn't opt out, it could be because he just had a bad year, and then I'm stuck with the last 5 bad years through his age 35. And he did just come off of a shoulder injury where he didn't play towards the end of the season. There was video recently of him on social media where he's swinging full out, so perhaps his shoulder is fine. But keep in mind, this is one of the best players in the history of the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies just can't give him away, even though in this marketplace, somebody who would take on that contract would expect that if I'm taking it on, you're either going to take some bad money back, eat some money, or not take much in return, or some combination of all of the above. And complicating this even further for the Rockies is that Trevor Story, their great shortstop, is a free agent at the end of the 2021 season. And I would think that the Rockies probably feel that they can't have both Arenado and Story on their payroll at the same time. So if they want to build in the future around Story, they have to find a way to move Arenado in the short term.
So there's a similar conversation in Chicago, only there isn't the price tag attached to Kris Bryant that there is to Nolan Arenado. There is still that kind of same superstar demarcation. And my question for you regarding Bryant and whether or not he's on the trade market at all is, does the transfer of power, now that Theo Epstein is no longer in Chicago, does it mean anything in terms of Bryant's future as a Cub?
Well, I think part of the reason Theo Epstein isn't running baseball operations anymore was there was an understanding that there is a real pivot point here for the Cubs from the core of the championship team, which Bryant clearly was a key to. He's the last third baseman to win a Most Valuable Player award. That was in 2016 when the Cubs won it all. But like Arenado, Kris Bryant just had the worst season of his career. He was never really the same great. I mean, he was very good the previous 3 years, but not the great player we thought coming out of that 2016 season where we thought he'd be a top 5-7 player moving forward. He missed some time last year with a finger injury. He has 1 year to free agency. He'll make probably between $18 and $20 million in 2021. There's enough combination, guys, that there have been people wondering, are the Cubs going to non-tender him between now and December 2nd? Which is a real insight into the Cubs thinking also, and again, why Theo is not there, because they're a team that the rest of the industry expects to slash payroll in a significant way. So that means getting rid of some big guys, and I think clearly that Bryant, who was on the trade market last offseason, is on it again this year. And I would caution fans, often when we think of names, we think about what they should get back. And there's hardly bigger names in the game than Arenado and Bryant. But there's enough ulterior stuff as far as injury, age, salary, upcoming free agency on both guys that I would brace if they get moved, that neither team gets exactly what those names and that fame you would think would bring.
All right, so let's go to a third name. Arenado, huge outstanding money owed. Bryant, huge outstanding money forthcoming. What about a third name for whom maybe there's not that household name value and maybe there's not as much payroll assigned to?
Yeah, I would keep an eye on Jose Ramirez. I think the Indians won't do anything with him. I would think of the Indians in the situation like the Marlins a few years